started making marbles right around 99. My specific technique with the flowers I kind of discovered on accident in 2000. So back in the 90s, there seemed to be enough people making other glass vessels. For me, the round object just seemed kind of interesting. And then, like I said, I just kind of stumbled onto that technique of the flower technique. So to me, it was new, and it seemed to be new to the market as well. So I kind of abandoned everything because I figured I was onto something and just concentrated solely on that technique. I don't know how I picked the rose, but I was making a pendant. Something seemed to be going wrong with it. It was at the end of the day. I got kind of mad, just really started melting the glass. And the angle I was holding it at just happened to kind of wrap the glass around those lines, and I saw the lines kind of raise up in the glass. And I'm going, wow, if I do a pattern, it's going to turn out to a flower. So it just happens to be the first demonstration I do almost in all my classes, the rose. You can be a little bit shaky, so if it's the first one in the day in a class, you don't have to be perfect. You can draw lines a little squiggly or not quite centered, and it's still going to kind of turn out nice. And then from flowers went to jellyfish, and now I'm kind of into the heads or the faces. So there's only a few flowers that I try to be a realist with. The flowers are inspiring, or certain types of flowers are more inspiring, and I try to kind of translate what I see to the technique, and then once it goes through the process, I get what I get. Sometimes it looks pretty close to the real thing, sometimes not so much. Maybe I'm inspired by the flower, but it's also, I'm probably more inspired by the discovery than, the actual flower. I make something seems to intrigue me about that design, so I try something else, and it just seems to keep progressing, even though, like I said, I do the same technique for the past 16 years. I'm still discovering things, so it keeps me going. If you want to make stuff like other artists, then you're going to be compared to those other artists. If you want your own voice, then you're going to have to come up with something on your own. So what I've noticed about kind of these newer people into glass, they seem to have the internet, and they don't really rely on their own imagination or their own creativity because they have it presented to them already. For me, I always use the internet to say, oh, someone's making that, well, I better make something different. And, in early 2000, that was kind of easy because there wasn't quite as many. Now, it's hard to find your original voice, but luckily I found it early. Yeah, I actually have very strong opinions on integrity because I think it's lacking a lot lately. I try to teach that I don't teach design, what I teach is technique. And the technique is for everybody. But certain designs are, individual artists can have pretty strong feelings about their designs. And there's some that I have strong feelings. The samurai I feel is my design. I want people to learn the technique and then go and discover that for themselves, because that's what keeps me going in the glass. It's easy to look at something and copy it rather than going and trying to explore, the discovery of it. And I was never really formally taught. And some of the ways that I do things are a little bit unique, but it's unique to that technique too, which the technique is kind of new. It's 20 years old. I think there was a few people doing it in the 90s, but maybe not to the degree that I have taken it to in the last 16. So becoming a teacher, I felt a responsibility. I knew something and I was really far into something that nobody else really was, and people were asking, or there seemed to be a lot of interest in what I was doing. So I almost felt responsible that I knew something that other people didn't, so I should teach or show them what I can do or what I actually have in my head. I used to come up to Sedona quite a bit, every year just to hike around, and I was kind of like, wow, why isn't there a glass studio here? But you're seeing more and more galleries, you're seeing more and more teaching facilities, I think, which to me is wonderful. It's really nice to have the hot shop and a lamp working facility. A lot of studios are geared more towards one end rather than the other. It's nice to see both. For a while it didn't seem like the flame workers and the hot shop people got along, but they seem to get along more these days. And it seems like the melting point is, is bringing it together, which is nice. It's kind of a magical substance that just, your imagination is, unlimited with the glass. With the sphere, it's a finite object with an unlimited amount of possibilities to do inside. So it's almost like a puzzle. How much can you do in something, finite? The sphere is magic in itself, but the glass, just, in this gallery, you can just look around and see all the different shapes and colors, and that's fun. Not just beautiful, but fun as well.